Okay, we're on.
Okay, here we go. Orange, I should say peel, used in beer.
Mhm.
Indian spices. It's a very specific kind of orange. It'll come to me if I keep jabbering about it.
Okay.
Here's one, Fratelli Motta, whatever that is a candied orange peel.
Mhm.
Anyway, so I'm working on this. Got it. I'm working on this project, it's my branding background, right?
Mhm.
Because I was talking with the postmaster here in town today, and I had a little empty caviar bottle, jar, whatever you call it, small, it's not a lot. And it probably holds about an ounce, 32 grams or something like that. And I told him, I said, everywhere I've been, in lots of countries I've been, even Taiwan, Czech Republic, Germany, Russia, they all have what they call herbal digestive.
Mm.
And there's one that comes to mind quite readily. It's called Unterberg. And Unterberg is since like 1843 in Germany. And it comes in a little tiny, very slender bottle, kind of like when you have in your room. What do they call it? Mini bar, right? A mini bottle.
Yeah. Yep.
Kind of where you get a drink on an airplane.
Yep.
And it's wrapped in paper. It has a nice label, green parchment color. And then it's got a little green cap on it. They make a ritual out of this. And it's not cheap. It comes, want to order an Unterberg. It's sort of like the thing you do after you eat in Germany is like, Unterberg, yeah, Unterberg. So they all get one, and they have these special little glasses like they do in beer. Anywhere in Europe, especially Belgium, if you order a beer, it has its own special glass.
Right.
You don't just have a beer glass, You may as well drink out of a mason jar, or a fruit jar or something like that, which is okay too. So in developing, ever since I was a kid, I wanted to make alcohol. I wanted to make, spirits. So I ended up, at least for now, making beer. And then I realized the other day that I had been doing something and without even thinking about it, that I have a plant. I won't identify it because I don't want to give the secret away, not even to you, Troy.
Okay.
You'll pry it out of me later. That I soak in vodka, this plant, and I had forgotten about several jars of it that I have, because every time about this time of the year, these berries become ready. I put them in a bottle of alcohol and put them away, vodka. And then I discovered these bottles, and I had a Swiss guest who drank it and ended up on the lawn in the morning. And it was like, what did you put in that? It's like, nothing that'll kill you. And then I tried it with some of my friends, and it's like, Mama Mia, Danny, what is this? So I gave the postmaster some, and he said, and I have been experimenting with little things to put in it to elevate its taste.
Right.
So, in coming up with the right look, right?
Yeah.
I came up with this bottle, kind of nice, with the cork in it, right? Like that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you can have wax seals and all that sort of
Sure.
stuff. But you can see how dark it is. It's India ink.
Sure.
And you would never know that looking at the stuff I put in it. You would never expect that was what was going to happen. And then I just let it sit there. I break up my stuff, with my hands. It's all very personal. And then then I filter it, through like brown coffee filters. And so let it sit, and then sediment settles out until I get to a point where it's, ready to serve. And if you're going to serve it, then I may as well serve it, in something that looks like this.
Sure. Yeah.
So that, and I'll give away the color here in a second. You can see it better, I hope. So the people order something, I haven't given a name to it yet. Then you can see it has actually an intense brown color. Maybe you can't see that. Maybe you can see it in the stem.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think it's really giving away much, and I got the wrong light bulb in there. But
Yeah.
it's a very pleasing color,
Right.
right? And then to choose the right, delivery mechanism, right? The bottle that it comes in, just to all of these identifiers to give it some kind of special status, right?
Right. Mm.
And I gave it to people and they're like, wow, man, this is incredible. Because what I started thinking about while I've been here on the farm is when people first came to the country, like now, we've got so many people coming in from the southern border who see things that nobody else sees because we grew up around them. Like the Mexicans in this area, they see all these long leaf pines and these needles, they got 3 needles, they're about that long. And then they see the forest floors covered with them. And now what they do is they take all the fellow Mexicans and they gather up the pine straw. They put it in a bale and they sell it everywhere. And people love it because it's a beautiful brown color. It stays there forever. Keeps the ground moist, and it's kind of like gotten to be a thing.
Yep.
So nobody here ever thought about it.
Sure.
Right. And so they come in and so I said the same thing about this stuff that was growing here, because it had from Indian herbology, it has a lengthy history of being used for this, that, and the other, and so on. So I created my own thing to give this place, this nowhere place, an identity of, my own Unterberg,
Right.
whatever I end up naming it.
Yeah.
And then the poetry comes in, right? As to what it is, the history of the place, the right photography, the right product. And then how do you see, some blonde from Vegas pouring it, something like that.
Yeah.
To create a very simple thing. And then I realized, okay, now I've gotten to this point of where I have the product that I've dreamed about, and that I can sell it in very small portions, maybe half an ounce, right? You don't want to get people drunk on it. You can get drunk on it and end up on the lawn in the morning if that's what you want. But not to sell it in huge quantities.
Yep.
It wouldn't make any difference. But Postmaster said, that's pretty good. And it burns on the way down. I said, but it's a pleasant burn, isn't it? And then you go through all of the different experiences that happens when you take this, not to mention, what he's going to feel like tomorrow or after he's imbibed in it, and so on and so on. And it's like, man, this is lots of thought. This is a multi-level experience, right?
Okay.
The initial taste, the aftertaste, the effect. Is it pleasant? Do I want another one? So on and so on. Because one of the mistakes I made in brewing beer was I brewed with such precision and alcohol content that you only want one beer.
Right.
And that means, you'd have to make it like $15 a bottle to make any money, because when people drink it, they get what they want early and only spend, one beer. And I've given my beer to everybody. And one guy up in military town did a video where, in true military fashion, held up the bottle, very special bottle, and said, man, this is the shit. And it was like, okay, he went to all that trouble to tell me, and everybody talks about my beer. It's not really a beer as it is a barley wine, because the alcohol content is up around the wine level.
Right.
But it is, and I've got beer that I made 20 years ago, case after case after case. It's, I'm not a drunk, and I just like doing it. I want something with my name on it.
Right.
Something that I can be proud of. And I happen to think that a lot of people want the same thing. right?
Mm-hmm.
Something that stands for them and their effort and their quality and blah blah everything you want behind it. So if I do something and my name goes on it, then I have to. It has to be Danny Reddy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we get to that point. And so that's where I am now, playing with the idea of getting back into branding. And there are lots of other stuff going on, but there it is. I don't know what to call it yet, but
Yeah.
oh, you can. I'm cheating you the whole way.
It
Not
looks a
showing
little
you.
bit
Next time
like
I'll.
a
What's that?
port. We have the port barrels. I mean, yeah, little port barrels. It holds 5 liters of liquid, and it kind of became a tradition when my dad got one. Yeah, I don't know, must have been 10 or 15 years ago. They just sell them at the you can buy them at certain liquor stores, but
Used or not
no,
used?
brand new. And so
Charcoal inside? Are they charcoal?
Yeah, it's kind of, yeah, it's that woody and dark taste. So it's called a port barrel. So you just buy any old port. The cheaper one is usually fine, and you can mix a couple of ports together to get up to the 5 liters, and then you let it sit. And yeah, I mean, you can start drinking it straight away if you like, but the longer it sits, the more richer it gets. And after Dad was doing this for a couple of years, then he got my brother one, and then then I got one, and then Shane's got one, and we all had our port barrels. And yeah, then whenever we go over to their place, it's just like, oh, how's your port tasting at the moment? And sample the port, and it goes through different flavors of intensity. And but the look of yours reminds me of port. Does it? I don't imagine it would taste anything like port.
Not at all. Not at all. Not tawny or ruby,
Right.
or is that it? The two varieties of port? It's not it. I wouldn't say it's even in the sherry line,
Okay.
or not prepared for this conversation, but lots of, wine country in California, they can give you all different kinds of stuff because any taste, if it's alcoholic, people want to try it, right?
Yeah.
And then if they get you in the tasting room, well, then, you walk out with a case or a bottle, right? And they make their money that way.
Yeah.
But this is far too thin, right? It's it's about the density of vodka,
Okay.
right? With something added to it, but it's you can let it sit forever, and there's no residual
Right.
on the bottom at all because of the way I treat it. But I would be really curious about a barrel, putting it in a barrel.
Yeah.
Let me show you something else. You ever seen anything like this?
Oh,
Let me get some light.
yeah.
You've seen this before, huh?
Just in like old movies.
In the movies?
Yeah. Yeah. With the XXX written on it,
Yeah, and this is how you drink it, of course.
Right. Yep.
And it's got that dual color. Some of them have like a triple X on the side for alcohol.
Yep.
And of course, you got to have a corn cob as a stopper.
Yep.
To complete it. These things are extremely rare now, but being an alcohol file, I made sure that I could pick one of these two up in my whole lineup.
Yeah.
Right. So there's some similarity there between colors.
Sure.
But when I see one, I buy it.
Okay.
And then as usual, I'm finding out now I've got too much of everything.
Mm-hmm,
So I don't need anything else. I'm trying to get rid of everything.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So there's that. And of course, you know, if you're going to be bottling something, then you need to have your own bottle, right?
Sure, sure.
You can't sell a Guinness unless it's in a Guinness bottle or a Guinness can. It's got its own identity.
Yes.
So, you know, that's kind of where I am right now. As I put things in order, is to figure out what am I going to do with this. So
Mhm.
you're not just sampling it around, but that, you know, once the product is created and how you market it,
Mhm,
that's the bugbear.
mhm.
And if you market it in its amounts, proof, is it medicinal? So I don't think that if anybody's selling Unterberg in a restaurant that they have to have a liquor license. But then again, that's a whole nother ball game,
Sure.
right? I'm thinking I'm the inventor of this Unterberg thing.
Right.
And yeah, I would like to keep tabs on it, but that's another head. That's another head I don't have unless I put the first head away and try to do it myself. And then it becomes a family thing, right?
Mhm. Right.
That's in 2021, this product was first marketed, but it's, you know, underwent 25 years of preparation in the meantime. And do people like it? And do they ask for it? And do they talk about it?
Mhm,
You
mhm.
know, because if they don't do all of that sort of stuff, then what's the point? And then, of course, you know, the licensing, the government wants their share. Every time you produce a molecule of alcohol,
Mhm.
they want a piece of it, you know, and it's just like, shut up and go away, man. I'm sick of government. Just let me do my thing.
Mhm, mhm.
And then, you know, when the revenuers come around, you know, you shoot them. Isn't that what you do with revenuers? Yeah. So
Okay.
anyway, that's kind of where I am right now. And it's got like a good wine. If you how you test the sugar in wine is you put it along the side of your glass, you swirl it like that,
Right.
and then you look and see how long and how slow it drips down and in what
Okay.
fashion the side of the glass, so you know before you taste it how thick is the sugar,
Yes.
right?
Right. Yeah. I've
And
seen that.
you know, so
I've done it myself, but I never
yeah,
really knew why. I just was kind of repeating what, you know, others would do and have a look.
yeah,
But that makes, sense.
yeah.
The,
Especially with white wine, which has a tendency to be
right.
sweeter.
Right.
Because all you're witnessing is sugar in one form or another, whatever additive they put in the wine, or they do not allow the wine to fully ferment.
Mhm,
Because if
mhm,
there's sugar in it and no active yeast, well, that's what you get. But if
mhm,
you've got
mhm,
active yeast in sugar, the yeast is going to eat the sugar,
mhm, mhm.
right?
Right.
So you want to make sure, whether it's centrifugal force or whatever, that you know you filter out as much of the yeast as possible. Then you've got living beer, which is where they let the yeast live and it kills itself because of the alcohol it creates and what its tolerance is. And then it settles down to the bottom of the bottle, which is what a lot of people wait for last of all, because it's got B12 in it, and B12 is fights against hangovers.
Ah,
So
okay.
it's kind of like you can drink everything you want, but make sure you drink that sludge at the bottom of the bottle,
Ah, okay,
which
okay.
you have to make a game out of, right? So
Right.
people say, "Are you going to drink that?" It's like, "Oh hell yeah!" It's
Mhm,
sort of
mhm,
like
mhm,
that kind of a thing.
mhm,
Are
mhm,
you going to mud wrestle it? You're going to wrestle in the mud? Oh man, you don't know,
mhm,
right? That
mhm,
kind of thing.
mhm.
So
Right.
all that stuff goes into figuring out how to market something. And then, like I said, you know, when it's mine,
Mhm,
then you know you get really anal about it.
mhm.
Product quality control, you know, so on. So then it becomes an enterprise, right?
Sure.
As if I were a customer coming to you now saying, "Hey, Troy, look what I created, right? What am I going to do with it? What can you guys do with that? I don't have any money. It's like, okay, well then, we'll take 50, 60% of the product. Oh, no, you won't. And then, well, what can you do? And you just start negotiating on what you do with this kind of stuff. And then, start small.
Yeah. Well, to answer that question, and to tie it in, let me know if I'm going on a wrong tangent here, but
Troy, on a wrong tangent?
I would
No way.
create a LinkedIn group about it and say, who's out there is interested in this type of, specialty alcohol.
Herbal digestives.
Herbal digestives, yeah, exactly what you said. And start local. So we start finding people on LinkedIn that are in your area and come to the group and just mention, hey, we got this thing, it's available. Work on your packaging, which you've already done, but not limit it to local deliveries. Now that we've got infrastructure where we can, of course, there's regulations, I don't know, about sending liquid through, the air internationally, but, people do it. So I would, start with LinkedIn, get some popular feedback and see what people are saying, whether they want it. It's a nice kind of soft introduction to talk about other things, whether they're, doing artificial intelligence or, any of the things that we've talked about, blockchain and things. It just says, hey, forget about that for a moment. What about this? And it's something that people are gonna, first of all, straight away jump on it, or just say, well, there'll be others that say that's not for me. But in terms of relationships, and this is what we were talking about yesterday, in building and using this platform, which is social media as a whole, but we can focus in on LinkedIn, which is one of the better social media platforms for doing business. That's what it's got a name for. But this relationship or business relationship is a new thing that I've been contemplating, and it's almost an oxymoron. We have a relationship where, with your family and, your friends, but when you bring the business into it, and you've told that story many times before, where perhaps I think it was in Russia, they said, this is business. And that's supposed to be an excuse of throwing everything away that really means a relationship, a true relationship or a real relationship. So you need the unity of business relationships is something that I've been focusing on and looking to say what we can do as Datalogical Services to anybody. Build solid, real business relationships. And it doesn't matter what you do. And you coming now to Datalogical Services, hey, I've got this product. What can we do to help you? Okay, let's get out there on LinkedIn, let's create a group, create some awareness around it, establish real relationships. But these are going to be business relationships, but not in the traditional sense or mainstream sense, or in the sense of what people have the feeling about business in the, because of how it's kind of got a bad flavor now. People don't like getting called in straight away and saying, hey, buy this. But if you start with a relationship, in which we have a platform, which is LinkedIn, and we have the knowledge now on how to build groups. Not that we're saying our group is the best and we're doing all this even for ourselves. We need to do it for ourselves. But yeah, it's something that we can apply to the LinkedIn group for data scientists as we're doing it for others. And it's transforming kind of a cold, harsh, meaningless relationship in business into a real, meaningful, soft and gentle, open, honest, beneficial, mutually beneficial relationship. So this is a great case where we, can take your product and see if we can actually build people with a common interest, with a real relationship that is business, because that's where the sustainability comes in. They're happy to pay the $15 or, maybe even more, because it's fun and enjoyable, and they know that it's going to be benefiting the larger picture, which is the power of, a group that is working together. And it just means that what working together means is that you share, you talk, you listen, and you help out, respect each other. And yeah,
it's principally probably the most difficult stage, is that reaching out.
okay,
Because as I've been listening to you, I've had, I don't know how to explain it, holes, kind of like, in my solar plexus of thinking, I could never do this, man. It's just, it's going to be a lot of trouble. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. Somebody's going to steal it from me, whatever runs through my head. And I can only presume from the frequency that I've been in contact with stuff like that, is that other people feel the same way.
sure.
Right? How do you encourage people to engage and carry on, right? Like the British say.
Yep.
And I think that's the greatest deterrent for me as well. And I can talk about another subject that we had assigned for today, which is Bitcoin, which is every time I start something, I have this same feeling, and I can't help but believe that everybody must experience it, to speak in general. And how do I assuage that? How do I bring comfort to myself in knowing that if you plan to do anything at all, you're going to have to get over that hump.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And that if I could, which actually is happening right now, get some assurance from you of creating this new community, right? Of people that if government wasn't so intrusive,
yes,
like we're the only thing on the planet and you work for us, it's like, no, you're not there is no external authority, and that includes you, in whatever form that you're in, because I can say thank you for your opinion, which is what it is. It's not like they're going to come and bust me up or something if I don't do what they tell me to do. I missed that programming,
sure,
right, somewhere. And if I had a community of people here, which I did when I first moved here, people were, amazed. A guy like me comes back here to live in, a hole.
Okay.
And it was really easy, to say, as people come by and say, hey, man, I hear you just brewed another batch. And it's like, yeah, we go from there.
Yes.
And then we would sit around the picnic table, and I would cook some chicken, and then we'd all drink beer, and, they'd take a few home with them, that kind of stuff. And it was really made everything worthwhile.
Mhm.
Now, my question would be, how do we, and is it as effective as, or could it be doing it online?
Mhm.
Because I don't think that people like you and have a relationship like you and I do, being 10,000 miles apart and speaking practically every day for 5 years, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm exaggerating a little bit, but not by much. And
Sure.
now we're looking at a hard and fast formula, really. I mean, I haven't done specific gravity tests to find out whether this bottle is the same specific gravity as the other one. But, I've got the instruments to do it from
Mhm.
making beer,
Mhm.
right? I
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
take them out, put them in, measure where it is and make a notation or add a little alcohol or whatever needs to be done
Yeah.
um, to create a consistency,
Yeah.
which is what people look for when they're buying a product.
Mhm. Mhm.
Wait, this one doesn't taste like the last one. Which one you like better?
Mhm. Mhm.
There's focus groups and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I see it tying into something else that's coming to mind. You mentioned how Russians do business. They start with the vodka and they say, okay, now that we've had, I don't know, 2 or 3, let's talk business. So, yeah, tying this into what's going with Datalogical Services and establishing a new group that, has this feel and rise from the beginning, where we can pull people in and say, okay, this is what we're going to be talking about. But before we do, everybody, let's have a sip of this digestive. Um, and in that process, okay, to join the group, you have to sign up. We have to find out who you are. And okay, you get sent this through the mail. When you get it, schedule a call. We expand what we have doing daily and invite more people in. I guess there would be some level of limit, but like you expressing the live environment where people just roll up to your house and say, okay, let's cook. But yeah, provide this service of people getting together, talking, chatting. And yeah, it starts with the drink. And then now that, okay, we've had that, let's talk about the other stuff that we love to talk about, problem solving. Okay, what are the challenges? Maybe people have sent their challenges in a list before the meeting. We can say, boom, boom, boom. Okay, from a business and branding side, this is what can happen. From a technical side, these are technologies that are available. Using that same example of getting that product out to everybody, maybe blockchain has and cryptocurrency has a solution in there to get around the government's wanting a piece of every drop of alcohol being sold. And we're already doing it in the way we're talking about it, not calling it an alcoholic product, and there's probably limits and ways around that in terms of branding. But then the technology will support it because you're exchanging from one place in the world to another, and Bitcoin is there. So to set it up that I can buy that by using my Bitcoins is the technical side of solving that problem, how I can buy it right now from you. Of course, you'd need a wallet. I've got a wallet. I just send it over to you, and then I'm waiting for it in the mail. But the branding side and the government side of the whole, okay, let's call it is that what you said, a digestive?
Herbal digestive.
Herbal digestive. Let's call it a herbal digestive, not a wine or a beer or a spirit. It's a herbal digestive. And it just so happens it has an ingredient of alcohol. Maybe there's a threshold of, what you're allowed to put in, and it, or it might be the size of the liquid itself. And all these things can be explored and you know, worked around. And or maybe it is that you're not allowed to sell it, but you can give it away. It's a gift, but it just so happens that you paid to join the group, and as part of paying to join the group, you get this gift. So yeah, on the branding side and strategy, business strategy, that's all, you know, just thinking out on the fly. But I'm sure, you know, as if we put it down together as a project, yeah, you'd be giving this advice on this business strategy, and I'd be setting up the technical side of getting a you know, a shop and a blockchain or a cryptocurrency into exchange system, so people just click and buy it, and then they're part of the group. Okay, then what do we do in the group? We do what we've been doing.
Well, then it would probably be wise to also figure out, without paying consultants, what does a participant get from this? You know, do they want 10%? Do they want, you know, a success fee? Somebody may say, well, I've got a bottling source, right? And then I'm a designer, I can do the label. And then, you know, where do you do it? In your kitchen? Yeah, okay. And should it be seasonal, right? Only like around Christmas time, until we, you know, get the thing rolling and buy the machines or whatever it is they do. And how often do you get the product, and how, you know, how expensive is it, and et cetera, et cetera. Would that group presumably have members who can manage all the different aspects of selling the product?
Well, I was thinking that the group would be just business leaders who are interested in drinking your herbal digestive. You know, what you're talking about is actually, yeah, building and bringing people on board to for the company that makes the herbal digestive. So yeah, if you're wanting to explore that, so that, you know, it's not just made by you, but turn that into a business, the way I would go about it is well, I think, yeah, like you're saying, as we are using this little herbal digestive to talk and to get people interested, there's going to be some people that have a real interest in making it grow, and say, okay, and that's up to you as the owner of this invention to say, are you willing to, yeah, sell ownership of it, and in what would you want for that? What is it worthwhile for you at that time? So yeah, as the inventor of this herbal digestive, and it's the same situation with anybody who owns a business like Shane. Is he willing to give up a percentage of his company in order for someone to come in and, you know, contribute? And yeah, we've gone through it with numerous ideas and past clients, but yeah, I think we kind of see that just evolve as it evolves. We don't need to worry about that now. I think we're focusing on, you know, as things are leading, one thing is leading to another.
Right.
And the group is there, there's 120,000 members, and you're bringing into this, one thing just led to another, and all of a sudden we're talking about herbal digestives, which is amazing, because I think it's a great entry point, and to start afresh. This group that we're going to be creating can be about the importance of starting with, like the Russians do. And it's not about the alcohol, it's about relationship. Starting with getting to know each other. And yes, we're going to be introducing a little vial of herbal digestive. So when we get together, we share that as an action, and it's all done online. But in order to get there, we have to promote that itself in itself and say, okay, this is what is available. How do you do it? How do I sign up? Does it cost me money? And if it does cost me money, what do I get for that? But yeah, from what we've been saying is, we're going to be selling real relationships, if that's something that can be sold, and transforming what is kind of superficial in LinkedIn. And like you were saying the other day, that when you said, why are you contacting me, to one of the people wishing you happy anniversary, it was totally superficial. And we want to transform those relationships from superficial. And this is, something that's happening in a lot of different social media. And we're going to be using LinkedIn. Come join the group. You get business advice. I don't know if we want to brand it that way or if I'm going too far into it, but yeah, the value that you and I have been getting by coming together and chatting and throwing ideas out there, and letting each other know what's going on, that has to be worth something to others as well. And if we can build it in a sustainable way using the technology we have, whether it's Zoom or Run the World like Frank was using, there's platforms, or even Decentraland, get people into a group and say, this is what you get, and tie in this product of a herbal digestive as, it's what we do.
May I say a word or two?
Yes.
I'm thinking the orange I was thinking about, and I don't speak very good French, but it's called, let's see if I can you pronounce that?
Correctio.
I think it's Curacao. It's French. Curacao.
Right.
She says.
Curacao.
Curacao. Mm-hmm. It's a colony of I think it's a Netherlands colony in the Caribbean, something like that. This is an orange that they use, right? It's a bitter orange flavor, mm-hmm. which you can't forget. They use it in one particular, I think actually the liqueur is called Curacao.
Right.
You may know, right? Maybe you've seen it.
I've seen orange liqueur, but not,
all of these flavorings and things like that. That's what I'm thinking. I will probably order some from Amazon or something.
Yeah.
And try a batch, so yes. We've got a laboratory, right?
Yes.
And other ideas I have in my mind based on the essential ingredient and what, it calls to mind. It's like French cooking, which is something I enjoy very much. All of these flavors, heavy sauces, but you don't eat a lot of it, right? So here I was thinking, what I fantasy about this, what you were talking about is about starting a group, has a lot of benefits, because actually you're talking about something that would be attractive to people for a couple of reasons. Number one is alcoholic.
Sure.
That always seems to get people's attention.
Yeah.
Then you're creating a real product that you can touch. right?
Mhm.
It's not software or something like
right.
that,
Yes.
right? It's like, there it is right there, buddy,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
You can touch it, you can feel it, you can drink it, you can do
Mhm.
whatever it is you want to with it.
Yeah.
You can add it to your spaghetti sauce if you want, right? It would be an added challenge for us, especially, I think, very insightful to get to the idea of how you turn, well, I can't exactly say an idea, can I? A product, a unique product, into a marketable item.
Yes.
That might be a lure,
Mm-hmm.
of getting a group together, 5 or 6 people.
Sure.
What are your qualifications? And then we can discuss it as it goes along, because I don't want to kill it, like you were saying, Shane may be thinking about, or anybody for that matter,
Mm-hmm.
is, I gave you the name of this guy who I got from a cab driver, and I think I should get 50%,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or something like that, but it would attract a special kind of person, I think, which would be very interesting for me, and I believe, if we're looking for 10 people maximum,
Mm-hmm.
in developing a product,
Okay.
what the challenges are. And that would be the fun of doing it.
Sure.
And see if we can create a marketable item, how we go about it, what somebody says, well, if you do this, I'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you've got an added incentive to get off your ass, or get up in the morning, or, we've talked about that about 1 million times as well.
Mm-hmm.
What keeps you going?
Yep. Yep.
I think that would be a very attractive offer, if it were part of the offer.
Mm-hmm.
And how to phrase it, how would you state something like that in creating a LinkedIn group, just to follow your lead? What would you say?
Well,
Herbal challenge.
yeah, it's kind of, to create the group. There's 1,000 groups, or millions probably, you're focusing on business development, right? But what we want to do is have a distinction, right? And this brings our distinction by just saying, hey, this is how we get together. We've got this herbal digestive. By the way, the herbal digestive is still under development, and it's just something that, has sprung up, and it's fun and easy.
Family recipe.
Yeah. But we've got a side project where we want to commercialize it. And if that is of interest to you, then we should talk. If you want
It's a learning experience, right?
That's right. And I would market it as what they call the, I don't know, it's not hobby, but it's your kind of passion project on the side, as your, this is what you do, but you've got some time to dedicate to a passion project. Then, and we've got this as an opportunity, because like you said, going through that process is going to be applicable no matter what you do elsewhere. Taking a product, turning it into a global sensation. But at the same time, we can use what it is right now and establish it into our process of, why we get together, and we always have that to discuss, but it's not something that we discuss all the time. What we discuss is your other business challenges, and bring to the group the questions that you need answered, you feel are priority, but I think, yeah, using the methods and the processes that we put and say, this is how we do it, which is around the 10 questions or whatever questions, you know, building into what we've talked about in the past about, you know, what you want and what you're doing working. These sorts of things is what happens in the group, and people pay to join the group, but they don't necessarily immediately become part of this passion project, which is to commercialize the herbal digestive. If they feel they want to, then of course, yeah, then, and if they have something to offer, and that you as the owner of that can decide whether or not you allow them to.
You know, I wouldn't make a good spy, you know, because they ask me a question, I tell them exactly what I think, right? I wouldn't hide any secrets. I'd, you know, give them the combination to the safe and just whatever, just to
Okay.
avoid any problems, which bothers me a little bit about the contents, right? Which I think is a double-edged sword, because number one, it is so simple. But then
Okay.
again, you know, that's the beauty of things, right? When they're
Yeah.
just super simple,
Yeah.
right? Well, it was so funny. All you got to do is take your old coffee grinds, right? And combine them with your fried chicken grease, and there you've got it. It's like, what? Nobody would have done it. And I would be afraid to give that away, you know, under
Yeah.
questioning, because somebody would say, well, I mean, man, if you're putting hemlock in there, we need to know about it. It's like, no, nothing. It's just really simple. And by the way, I think it might be something that might interest Shane,
Okay.
right? In terms of just trying to weave him in somehow.
Sure.
Since he is an herbalist, let's call
Yes.
him an herbalist, right?
Sure.
That it could be something we could mention to him just to see how he reacts. Like, here's what we're doing, and we're thinking about, you know, doing this, and it would be a means of advertising as well, right?
Sure.
Of saying, well, you know, I'm an Australian gardener, and I've got all these other enterprises that I'm doing, but I want to be a part of this kind of stuff to add credence to the idea, right? And who knows where that would take. Anyway, I'd love to have his opinion on it, and what, because I think the essentials are going to come out in conversation, right? Than me trying to paint the whole picture. You're very good at it. You know, you can write a proposal sitting alone. You got 5 minutes, you know, you got your computer, you just pump it out, and it's got spreadsheets and everything. Me, I can't work that way, you know. It's sort of like it has to develop somehow. And the idea, not only of Shane, but when I first went to Russia, something that impressed me really is everybody's living in a silo, right? That's what the Swiss call these living silos.
Right.
But they all had a little piece of dirt where they could walk through the forest. You know, the tractors had come in and cleared everything, and you get a little piece, and you go and plant stuff, you know, your apple trees or your raspberry bushes or whatever you want to do, your own tomatoes, whatever. And they called it kitchen garden.
Okay.
And I've heard that from time to time in other European colonies, which has a certain kind of allure to it, right?
Right. Sure.
My kitchen garden.
Yeah.
And then it would be, okay, you grow stuff in your garden that you use in the kitchen. What you make in your kitchen is up to you, right? I mean, a lot of people do a lot of things in their kitchen, but it's always the favorite room in the house.
Sure.
When you have a party, everybody ends up in the kitchen every time, right? And there may be some wholesomeness in there to keep people attached to the project. And I don't know how it would be worded, but it would be a desire of my own to, which takes into account yesterday's conversation about people not getting greedy. And when you're in a community, it's like I'm not going to call up Raleigh and tell them there's a guy down here selling beer that has, 6% alcohol in it. I may get a visit, the local sheriff may come by and he might say, so where's this beer? Or whatever, just not to get into any kind of trouble, but to recreate some sense of wholesomeness, some sense of I don't know, ethic. I hate to use the word, but some way of relating to each other. Not to get a member in the group who say, well, yeah, I used to work for ATF, Alcohol, Tobaccos, and Firearms. And, it's like, I really like to know what you're doing down there, Danny. It's like, nothing. Thank you. Because, they're everywhere anyway. So to maintain a certain comfort level without saying, well, what you offer is your priority, right? And that there might be some measure of caution that a person would exercise in making a contribution, until we get to the point where it's like, I got a call from Seagram's today, right? It's like they want to buy it, and then everybody gets weird, right?
Right.
Or, well, I know the ingredients and I've got Seagram's on the line right now, so fuck all is you, right?
Yeah.
Been fun. But, and I think people have that innate fear in them at the same time, but how to get everybody working together. It's just an idea,
Okay.
It's just an idea.
Yeah.
And somebody may say, actually, I met a girl in the grocery store the other day and she said, yeah, we're Cohen vodka. And it was like, do you make your own vodka? Because they make vodka everywhere. She said, no, we buy it from a place in Minnesota and we bottle it, right?
Right.
And then we sell it to the liquor stores and that's all. And then we collect the money. That's it.
Yeah.
I do the paperwork for the business. And, that's why I'm driving a Maserati and you're not. Kind of a thing. Yeah. It's really quite simple if you can get past those labeling restraints. I think they call them down here. You can't just have have a naked woman on your label any more than Starbucks can have nipples on their mermaid.
Right.
And those are the details where I think, I would end up getting into a hot discussion about with a federal agent.
Okay.
If they ever came to visit.
Well, yeah, on that topic, I mean, you see it at the markets when you walk past and, someone's built a table or, a chair and they go, good idea. I can do that. I've got the wood and I've got, the tools back home. But then they go home, they never do.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, but another angle is that I believe even if people had the recipe and, every instruction on how to do it, it would taste different. And there's nothing like the original batch. This comes from, North Carolina farm by Danny Teal himself. And, that no matter how it tastes or looks, but it's got that label. This is one of the original batches from the man himself. And then, yes, you can take the recipe, you can try and make it yourself and, send it back to Danny and see what he says. And, and we can
what the hell is this?
Part of, the interaction and, something to talk about in the group. And I think
it's not so, go ahead.
It's just the idea behind it. And it's free and open. It's kind of like we were saying once before, rap music. It's nobody owns rap music, but if you want to make a rap song,
go ahead. The thing that attracts me about this is that it seems to offer an ease of getting into a project without any real sense of liability.
Mm-hmm.
That, I'll accept the liability for this because it's my product, but there's much more to it than just having something to sell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even though I probably got 2 gallons of it, and that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then we could gear up, right?
Yeah.
And make our harvests and continue or look for other products elsewhere and, start ordering them in or tweaking the recipe until everybody thinks it's about the best it's going to be. And then that kind of intro is kind of like a lazy intro into what it's like to work with us,
Okay.
right? It's not such a stretch.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that it would be a good opportunity for us to get an idea of what kind of cooperative nature is necessary in doing a thing like this
Sure.
before we get into more complicated issues of like artificial intelligence or, whatever it's going to be,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which might frighten people because, intuitively, I think we all, or most of us grew up, with my grandmother making a great pound cake. And then everybody was always asking her about pound cakes and would she make one here for the church social? But nobody ever came in and said, Granny, if you make 100 of these, we can get you, in at the local grocery store
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, or set up your own, Granny's pound cake with your own label on it, which is what they do today, right?
Yes.
Which kind of just like sucks the life out of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know, it has a very interesting appeal to me. And especially when you were talking about, forming a LinkedIn group and saying, I want you to do more talking about that next time, if you don't mind. And about, is it something we are going to do? Is it something that we can do? Is it worthwhile? What would be, you're the mechanic, right? So how would you put this together and then gradually start seeing, it's not a lifetime commitment necessarily, but it could be an experiment to say, even to our group, right?
That's
People
right.
have more than one interest,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And say, okay, of 120,000 of you, anybody listening,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And then, if you like, I can take a picture of my jug.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We've got a logo
That's right.
or something like that, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And we go on from there.
Yep.
I don't know. You want to do that, or
Yeah.
what's your suggestion?
No, I want to do that. I want you to lead it. I want you to tell me what you need, what you want, and I'll do it. On the technical side, don't worry about a thing. Yeah, however you want it to look, whatever you need, I'll get it. I'll set it up.
This is just a sprout, right?
Sure.
So I'll give it some thought.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It does sort of fall back on me, doesn't it? And let's chat about it tomorrow.
Yep.
And at that point in time, I'll tie it in because this Bitcoin project is still going through its loops.
Okay.
And there was a moment here just a few minutes earlier where I wanted to tie it in with how I see human relationships developing on conceptual ideation around the subject of like Bitcoin, right?
Okay.
And I'll just continue for just a minute. Well, I may just go on for a minute or two, but I was solicited. A guy wants to buy Bitcoins and he came to me. And it's like, my first reaction was, who do I know that I can call that buys Bitcoins? Mm-hmm. So I called George and then I said, George, here's the proposal. Take a look at it. George has his own opinion about things. I sent it out to one of my wealth managers in Geneva. And he was asking, very technical questions. It's sort of like, well, if you're going to be making, tires for railway boxcars, what's the chemical content and where are the people located? And it's just like, okay, we'll deal with you later.
Mhm.
And I started thinking that what I'm getting into in a
Mhm.
situation like that, again, coming off of what we have touched on today and yesterday, is um, if I contact people and ask them, as I mentioned, 2 or 3 people, right? Um, am I going to reach a point if I did pass it by a couple of uppity ups.
Mhm.
I sent it to Meyer
Okay.
and I said, and a couple of other people higher than Meyer. And principally said, do you know anybody who can do this or anybody who's interested, or would this benefit from your position, would this benefit your country's status
Mhm.
in dealing with this? Because I'd be happy to, share if you can involve people in your own country to help make this come true. And so it can be, oh, what a tangled web we weave
Mhm. Mhm.
in as a forethought in, getting into herbal digestives, that
Yes.
it's always a surprise
Mhm.
that when somebody asks me to do something, where it leads. And then, I'm the one whose reputation suffers.
Mhm.
And then I spend, 2 or 3 days wondering if I am and how I am going to explain to these people why I sent them something that I didn't really understand either.
Okay.
Right.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it gets more and more complicated, especially when it has the promise of, get rich quick.
Right. Yeah.
And I think many of us are suckers for that, right?
Sure.
I bought a lottery ticket today. Wouldn't it be
Mhm.
nice to wake up in the morning and be, have $338 million in my bank account,
Exactly. Yeah.
foreign bank account?
Yeah. So
So lots of surprises.
yeah, I
You know,
mean, on that, on Bitcoin, and yeah, my experience. So I've got an exchange app where I can buy Bitcoins, and there are limits and maximums. Um, but yeah, if I just wanted to, and fees, this is the issue, is that using these, common exchange systems, and they're very easy to use. You just, I mean, still with the technical requirement to it, you might need to do a few steps and it doesn't work the first time. You go, oh, and read some instructions and get it up and running. But then when you're set, you just transfer money into your digital wallet. And the risk is that if you have a wallet that has substantial value, and it can be from 1,000 to 100 million, if you lose your key or give it's stolen or someone else has it, then that digital currency goes with it. So the recommendation is to actually keep that key on a physical, what we call thumb drive. And it's only accessible, it's encrypted, and it is the gold. So then take that encrypted file, put it in a safe, and make sure that the combination of the safe, and yeah, then you can be sure that your money in that wallet has the same protection that it would have if it was in a vault, in the biggest bank of America. So they're the things to consider on the usability side. But yeah, to transfer money, to buy Bitcoins, it's just get the app. But there are fees involved. If once you go a certain height in terms of the amount of money, because people get the smell of taking their piece and want to provide a cheaper way, and that's how it does work. If you're going to buy $1 million worth of Bitcoin, you have companies like Hivex who make it their business to get those fees down So you don't have to, push it through your app on your phone and get hit with 5% or more. But if you go to Hivex, they'll get you a percentage that's, lower, maybe, I don't know, 1% but they actually take their commission for doing all that. But it's still cheaper in terms of fees than if I just went and said, okay, yeah, I've got $1 million in my bank, I'm going to buy Bitcoin now, which I can do. But why I don't, and people don't, is because the fees are high and there are cheaper ways. But in order to do those cheaper ways, you need to get these people, these experts that do it as a business, so they know who to, tweak to. And that can be something that you could do yourself as well if you wanted to, but it's a lot of, like you said, opening up new areas. And why, if you have a genuine interest in that, definitely we would go ahead and figure it all out so that we don't have to use a company like Hivex. But if you want the next step, okay, first easiest step, just get Coinbase or crypto.com on your phone, transfer the money, and you've got the Bitcoin. High fees, easy to do. If you want to lower the fees, okay, go see Hivex. They have some really rigorous requirements around sending in your photo, your bank account, and getting to know KYC and anti-money laundering, all that. You have to go through all that, and then they'll say, yep, we can get you this savings on fees. Alternatively, we spend a lot of time working out what Hivex would do for you, and we do it ourselves, and even further, reduce the fees, but it takes a lot of knowledge and learning and trial to get there.
I'll send you something and we'll talk about it tomorrow.
Sure.
Probably WhatsApp or something like that, okay?
Okay.
All right, good. And the beat goes on.
Yeah.
Are we finished?
It's good from my side. That's great.
All right, great.
Okay.
I'll see you tomorrow with
Thanks,
even
man.
more exciting stuff.
Sounds good.
See you, Troy.
Bye.